Yes, it's a very good question, and it is much debated, as you will know, and I'm very glad you've raised this. I think one of the points here is that as human beings, we find it very difficult to engage with enormously complex realities. And so to make this more manageable, we scale it down and we use models to try and help us understand at least aspects of nature, or indeed physics or whatever it is. And the use of models, I think, is very well understood. It is very helpful in some ways. It enables us to, in effect, generate a mental picture of what's going on, which perhaps might help us understand some of the features of the system we're looking at. But of course, the big drawback, the big danger is it is a simplification. It's a reduction of something much more complex. And the danger is that we identify the model with what is being modeled. And that, of course, is an important thing. Both science and theology use these models. And I think the reason we both use models is that we're just human beings, and we find this way of thinking very, very natural, to use analogies or models or visualizable ways of approaching something as complex as nature. And certainly for me, one of the interesting things here would be this. Scientific models of nature very often focus on certain systems that can be measured and quantified and interconnected mathematically. And I respect that enormously. The difficulty is that that leads us into a way of thinking which, the Romantic poets, to give you an example, felt somehow lost something of the beauty and wonder of nature. In other words, it was right, but it was only part of things, and the danger was that part was being presented as if it were the whole. One of the things I think that Christian theology can do is to say, well, of course, what you're doing is very good and very helpful, but we need to make sure we don't say that's all there is to it. We offer a possibility of enrichment of this by saying there is more to nature than what can be measured and quantified. I think for many scientists I've talked to, one of their concerns is that as human beings, they find they can appreciate the beauty of the night sky or the beauty of a complex landscape. But they find it very difficult to bring that beauty into their scientific theorization. It's almost as if their thoughts about beauty happen at one level and their thoughts about the structuring and mathematical representation of nature happen at another. And so the problem there is, how do you hold these things together? I could quite easily give you a sort of theological account of how this could be done. But if we look at a number of writers on how we preserve a sense of wonder at nature while at the same time investigate scientifically, you'll see that they raise exactly the question you raise, which is, how can we investigate nature without saying nature is simply the level at which we are investigating this? So if I had more time, I'd give you a fuller answer, but I want to say what a good question this is and how it resonates very much with what a lot of scientists are thinking about the difficulties of using models which are helpful at one level and yet at another seem to miss something very, very important.